Welcome to Culture Talk, where we discuss culturally relevant topics that you can use to start conversations about your faith. I'm joined today with biochemist Fazale Rana. Thank you for joining us, Fuzz.
Sandra, thanks for having me.
We are going to talk about something called the Chickenosaurus. So first, this question came into us from Kevin C., and he came in through Facebook. So he's asking about the Chickenosaurus. But before we dive into his specific question, what is a Chickenosaurus? It sounds fun.
Well, it is fun, and it doesn't actually exist yet, but there are many scientists who hope that one day they can actually create a creature called a Chickenosaurus, which would be a chicken that has dinosaur-like features.
So like dino nuggets, right?
That's right, dino nuggets. Yeah, but everybody has seen, or at least is familiar with, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. The idea that scientists are using ancient DNA from dinosaurs to try to clone dinosaurs, resurrect them from extinction. Well, this is not really technically feasible. There's no way that that's ever going to happen. But there are scientists who think that maybe one day they can actually resurrect dinosaurs from extinction by essentially reversing the evolutionary process. There's many in the scientific community who think birds have evolved from dinosaurs. So their idea is that could we take a bird and reverse evolve it back to its ancestral state, back to a dinosaur-like state? And everybody's focusing on the chicken because we know a whole lot about chicken biology because of the poultry industry. So scientists are trying to create this creature called a Chickenosaurus.
So we're talking about reverse engineering, right?
Yeah, although the term is reverse evolution.
Evolution.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for a layperson, that's what we hear in movies and stuff. And what we think about, like for something like Jurassic World, where they reverse evolution, something that already exists to make something they shouldn't bring back, I think. But if reverse evolution, and this was the question from Kevin, if reverse evolution appears to work, what plausible non-evolutionary explanation might there be?
Yeah, and as I mentioned, many people in the scientific community think that birds have evolved from dinosaurs, and part of that evidence is the shared anatomical features that birds and dinosaurs have, with the assumption that those shared features must reflect an evolutionary history. And so it's on that basis that, again, people are trying to, again, reverse evolve birds into dinosaurs. And so people are arguing that if we can actually do that, then doesn't that mean there's evidence for evolution? But from a creation model perspective, we would see the shared features as not reflecting common descent, but common design, where a creator is employing similar design elements to create both birds and dinosaurs. And in order to create these creatures with similar design elements, but also that have distinct features, they share an a process of embryological development, but there's also uniquenesses in that process as well. And so what scientists are doing is they're manipulating essentially the developmental process, calling it reverse evolution, but you could just simply see it as manipulating development to try to get birds to be dinosaur-like.
So you talked about the RTB, or the reasons to believe creation model, and what we would kind of expect that from attempts. Can you explain a little bit more about how attempts to reverse evolution and create something like a Chickenosaurus, how that fits within our model and what we would expect to see as a result of these attempts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the idea that scientists may actually reverse evolve dinosaurs from birds, quote unquote, is actually possible. But again, I don't see this as reflecting an evolutionary history, but rather I see this as essentially manipulating the developmental process to make a bird develop in a way that looks more like a reptile or a dinosaur than like a bird. And this is possible because of the shared biological features that we have. So yeah, indeed, it is something that somebody could point to as evidence for evolution, but it doesn't mean that a creation model perspective can't account for the creation of a Chickenosaurus.
Describe a little bit more on how we point to a creator when we talk about these shared systems.
Yeah, well, if you think about an architect, for example, uh, when architects typically have a design style that they employ, and many times will use those same design elements in to create very different types of buildings. It's part of their style, it's part of their flair, where they utilize form, but they can modify that form in various ways to create different types of functional features within the architectural design. And so we would see organisms in that same way, that the creator is employing the same kind of design elements. And so those shared design elements reflect, in a sense, that creator's style or artistry, but then also those design elements have the robustness that they can be varied in such a way to create a wide range of different types of functional features.
So, how would you, as someone who unfortunately hasn't seen any of the Jurassic
Yeah.
Park films, but aware enough of the content and what they've created,
Yeah.
how would you use this topic as a conversation starter to talk about your faith?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, this idea of dinosaurs fascinates so many people. The idea of maybe one day experiencing or encountering a real life dinosaur is something that many people dream about, and the idea of creating a chicken that's dinosaur like is so bizarre and fun that these are really non-threatening ways to talk about things that people are likely to be interested in, but then to be able to use that as a really nice segue into something that's more spiritually meaningful and significant. And so there's so many different hooks, when it comes to this topic that can lead us to really big questions about how do we really explain where life comes from, and is the evolutionary paradigm the only explanation, or could it be that a creator was somehow involved, and if so, how?
Yeah. Well, I think that would be a fun conversation to sit in, especially with the kid, like talk about what's your favorite dinosaur, right? And
Yeah,
then dive into this conversation about design features
yeah.
and God. So, yeah, thank you so much for that, Fuzz. Now, if people want to read a little bit more about this topic, they can find your article on reasons.org, and it is called The Creation Evolution Controversy in Jurassic World.